The Angels have lost plenty of games in 2024, but today may be the first time that there are literally no positives. We'll discuss a 9-0 Halo defeat on tonight's edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast.
You are Locked On Angels Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
That's right. More Angel baseball, more losing baseball. The Angels shut out 9-0 in Game 2 of their road series against the Seattle Mariners, and really nothing went right. Horrible starting pitching, horrible bullpen, horrible hitting, and we even got a Cole Tucker sighting on the mound. Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, after every single Angel game, live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel, and after the fact, either on the channel or wherever you get the Locked On Angels podcast feed. As always, I'm your host, a sad, bummed Gavin Carlson. 4 years as a credentialed journalist with the Daily Bruin covering UCLA sports, but today and recently I have been the postcast host, and man, now 2-8 in the history of Angels Postcast for me. Shout out as always to Daniel, always in here every single show. Today he says happy Saturday. And please, my advice throughout this postcast and once this postcast ends is, please, by now, I hope you are not letting the Angels affect your mood, because the expectations are as low as they can be. So please, the second this ends, I appreciate you being here, but the second this ends, don't think about the Angels and go have a nice Saturday. But yeah, shout out to Daniel, happy Saturday, and Sega Boy W back in here saying MDH for Rocket City has only allowed one run this year. Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into all of it. Shout out to everybody who's here. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. On today's show, we will discuss, I don't even need segments for this one. Like normally I like to break it up and have 10 minutes about the pitching and 10 minutes about the hitting and 10 minutes about Ron Washington. But man, on a day like today, you know, what do you even talk about other than pain? Other than pain. We're going to try to keep it positive. We're going to try to have fun, but we are going to break down this one because, some games we've gotten fooled into thinking there's going to be excitement. Ironically, yesterday, the first 6 innings, as we discussed, were basically a snooze fest, at least from the Angels' point of view. 4-0, nothing to be excited about, just 3 hits. And, of course, Joe Adell comes out and hits that grand slam, wakes us all up. But like I said yesterday, he woke us up so we could feel pain. Today, however, the Angels never woke you up if you were half watching this game. Ironically, this game was on national TV on Fox. And, I don't think many people outside of Los Angeles are following the Angels. But if there were people watching today's game on national TV, they got an accurate description of the Angels in 2024. Now, I know the Angels actually haven't lost many games like this. We haven't seen Cole Tucker on the mound or position players on the mound so far this season, really. A lot of close losses, a lot of 1-run, 2-run defeats, a lot of games like last night. But today was an example of a AAA baseball team playing AAA baseball in every phase, whether it's the starting pitching with Reid Detmers, whether it's the bullpen, with Contreras continuing to be, just a guy. Carson Fulmer, not great as well. The hitting, non-existent. And we're going to discuss, I want to start, sometimes I try to be structured. We'll try to keep it structured. I want to start with Reid Detmers because we know he's been okay this season. And by okay, that's probably a little generous, to be honest. The ERA now 6.14 after he goes 3 2/3 inning, gives up 4 hits, 5 runs, just 3 strikeouts, a home run, being a grand slam. But the main thing for me, and why I have dumb pitching by Detmers as one of the points there to my right, or excuse me, right there, I'm trying to point to it. There you go. The reason I say dumb pitching by Detmers is because The Mariners are not a good hitting team. They came into this one second to last in baseball in scoring. This is not a hitting team. I am not surprised that the Angels have struggled to hit the ball. They have a AAA lineup, and they're going against a really good rotation. Ironically, recently in games for the Angels, it's been the second the opposing team takes out their starters that the Angels show some life. So I was not surprised to see a lack of hitting against another very good starter for the Mariners, although this is probably the one that you needed to hit off of if you're going to hit off of anyone this series. But what I was surprised at was Reid Detmers just pitching just with no brain at times. We know he's wild. We know he struggles to locate. We know he gets behind in counts. We know he ironically has great first innings. Still, no first inning runs allowed by Reid Detmers in 2024, and yet the ERA is over 6. And why? It's because he falls apart. And the reason I'm going to say dumb, number one, this Bliss guy, Ryan Bliss, later in the game, he gets his first career hit in the big leagues. But this guy is a speed demon who has not hit a baseball, has not gotten a base hit yet in Major League Baseball. And what does Detmers do? He walks him twice. He walks him twice. And not like, wow, great at-bats by this guy. Not, wow, really, this young guy who doesn't have much experience, really battling and having a stellar at-bat. Just Detmers, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Top of the third, 3-0 count to start the at-bat against this guy. You're not pitching around him. I know you're not. So you're just that wild. And you're that scared of your fastball right now that you throw a first pitch curveball in the dirt to Bliss. Then you can't locate 2 fastballs, although, ironically, the third one was probably a strike. The Angels continue to get hosed on low at-the-knees fastballs, called balls. But you fall behind 3-0 to Bliss. You throw 2 strikes, one of them fouled off, and then you throw a 4-seamer nowhere near the zone to walk Bliss. Then this guy has all sorts of speed. This is the bottom of the third, by the way, really when this game started. After you walk Bliss, then he steals second. Crawford flies out. Then Bliss steals third because, yes, this guy is a speed demon. Billy Hamilton out there, not going to hit the ball anywhere, but if you get him on base, you're toast. And you walk him. He steals 2 bases, and eventually, Julio Rodriguez gets that RBI on a 2-out base hit. I'm not really going to, of course I'm going to criticize Detmers for everything, but a guy like Julio Rodriguez is going to get a base hit against you. Like, that's just baseball, right? What's not just baseball and what is dumb pitching is walking a guy who has yet to have a hit in his major league career and is also a speed demon. And ironically, what always happens for the Angels in 2024, at least in my opinion, is whenever the pitcher goes out and gives a run or gives up a couple runs, at least early in the game, the Angels always respond with the quickest inning of all time. Detmers gives up that run, all because he walked a guy who can't hit. And then the Angels go 9 pitches, I believe, in the top of the 4th. And just 1, 2, 3, of course. Yeah, Pilar and Tice go down on the first pitch for Pilar and the second pitch for Tice after Calhoun gets out. It's just like right away. Your pitcher gives up a run. At least it was only 1, but then bam, in 2 seconds, he's already back on the mound because your team just has the quickest inning of all time. But the foolishness for Detmers did not end there, because then in the 4th, that's when the Mariners break this one open a little bit. And on a night where the Angels, or a day, where the Angels never looked like they were going to put up many runs, it felt like this one was over after this bottom of the 4th, because after Detmers strikes out Ty France to lead off the inning, gives up a base hit to Mitch Haniger, he strikes out Mitch Garver. Okay, 2 outs, 1 guy on. No need to be worried here, right? Not expecting you to get out of bases loaded jams every inning, but with 2 outs and 1 guy on, I'm feeling okay about Detmers. But then what does he do? The walks kill him again. Another 3-0 count. This one to Luke Raley, a 3-0 count. Fastball high, curveball in the dirt, fastball basically in the dirt, very low. It's 3-0. You get 2 strikes, and then you get a foul ball, but then you throw a 3-2 slider that honestly isn't the worst pitch in the world if it's 0-2, but on 3-2 it is. And it's a take, and suddenly 2 outs and 1 guy on becomes 2 outs and 2 on, and then guess who's up? The man of the hour, Mr. Ryan Bliss, who's already been walked once, despite yet to have a major league hit. And what does Detmers do? Easily, in my opinion, the worst at-bat of the night. Worse than the next at-bat, which is a grand slam. because Bliss up with 2 guys on and 2 guys out does not see a strike. First pitch slider inside. Fastball in the dirt. Fastball just above the letters. Could have been a strike, especially on 2-0. But like they're saying on the radio broadcast, if you're wild, Detmers, you're not going to get calls. The ump's going to say, this guy's wild. I'm not giving him a gift. So on 2-0, you throw a high fastball. It's a little bit high. On MLB.com, it says it's just catching the zone. But nope, ball 3. And then ball 4 on a fastball, not even close. So this guy is hardly a big league hitter. Does not have a hit in his major league career. And yet he's got 2 walks, 2 stolen bases. And this time he didn't even have to think about swinging the bat. 4 balls, only 1 of them close, and it's on 2-0, so he's not swinging. Easily the most infuriating at-bat of the day. And then, of course, the baseball gods, when you pitch foolishly like you do there, walking a no-name, the baseball gods are going to kill you. And ironically, an okay at-bat where you actually get a first pitch strike, where you actually get ahead 1-2, you throw a 1-2 slider that J.P. Crawford's never really going to think of swinging at, and then you throw a hanging curveball. Not a good pitch, especially on 2-2, but it's hit 359, and it's a grand slam. 359. It's like we're in Houston all over again. 95.5 exit velo was obviously hit pretty high, but 359. But I don't feel bad for Detmers, despite rooting for him, despite being an Angel fan that, of course, really, really wants to see Reid Detmers, one of the young guys we're supposed to have faith in this franchise, around. Did not deserve to get out of that inning. You walk Ryan Bliss with 2 men on and 2 men out on 4 pitches. So yes, if you throw a hanging curveball, maybe it didn't go 420 feet, but you probably deserve to give up the grand slam. And just like that, it's 5-0. And the game's really over. Because like I said, whenever there's a big inning, it seems like the Angels roll over. And the Angels come back up. 1-2-3. Joe Adell strikes out. Boy, did he strike out a couple times. Zach Neto strikes out. And then Guillermo grounds out immediately on 2 pitches. So I always am going to feel bad and have sympathy for every Angels starter in the sense that coming into the game, you don't have confidence in the lineup. And every time you give up a run, there's immediately a quick inning on the other side. And so Detmers has a rough third, immediately has to come out for the 4th because it's 1-2-3. He has a rough 4th, and then immediately the Angels get sat down once again. So at this point, it's 5-0, and at this point, I don't think many people had faith. Even though last night we saw Joe Adell give us faith, I personally did not have any, and I was correct to think that because the Angels lineup didn't show up. Now, of course, we can go later in the game and talk about more things because in the 6th, the Angels give up 4 more. Fulmer and Contreras are bad. By that point, it's 9-0, and this game is over. But really, with this lineup, when you fall behind 5-0, I don't have much faith, and I feel like that's when the game is decided. So we're going to take our first break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast as the Angels fall 9-0. In my opinion, very dumb pitching from Reid Detmers. And although he gets unlucky with a grand slam that goes 359 feet, when you walk a guy twice who has never gotten a hit in Major League Baseball, including on 4 pitches with 2 men on and 2 men out, you don't deserve to have a good outing. Detmers falls to 3-6 with a 6.14 ERA. The Angels fall to 21-37, 16 games under 500, now 2 games under 500 on the road, and of course, 5th in the AL West. We're going to take our first break here, live on the Locked On Angels Postcast. When I come back, I'll talk about that non-existent hitting performance and what the heck is Wash supposed to do going forward. We'll talk about that after our first break here live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. Today's show is once again brought to you by Ibotta. Now, spring is sprung, and that means spring cleaning. Whether that means stocking up on cleaning supplies or swapping out your winter clothes for new spring clothes, make sure you use Ibotta and get real cash back with every purchase. Now, if you don't know already by now, Ibotta, I-B-O-T-T-A, is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies to toys. So you can make sure you're beating inflation. Oh, you want to do that. Beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back And once again, use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Today's show is also brought to you by Supply House. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trade, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts, from over 400 top brands, and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business, and talk to a real person every time. That is huge. I gotta say, you rarely get to talk to a real person in 2024, so that is huge. Talking to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can also get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Once again, you're listening to the Locked On Angels Postcast with me, Gavin Carlson, live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel, just like we do it every single day after every single Angels game. And now, like I said, the Angels fall to 2-8 in the history of the Locked On Angels Postcast, and this was easily the worst loss of them all. I mean, they had a loss where I think it was 10-4. Patrick Sandoval came out, laid an egg, and I was pretty furious. I put embarrassed in all caps in the title, and this was just as bad. 9-0, and we already talked about Detmers laying an egg, especially against Mr. Ryan Bliss. Don't get me started. I've already ranted enough about that. But once again, another game where you got to feel for the starter a little bit, because the Angels lineup never even looks like it's going to put a run on the board. Never. Never, never, never. And as Michael D54 accurately puts it, this roster is horrible. Tucker, Guillermo Suarez all need to be DFA'd. Paris is nowhere near ready to play in the majors and should be sent down. And Garcia, Simber, Moore should all be traded. Yeah, what he said. We're going to get to it in the third segment about what the Angels do going forward. What is Ron Washington supposed to do? The question of the day, and I want you to either leave a comment if you're watching live or leave a comment after the fact. I'll tell you right now. I'll give you a sneak peek. The question of the day is, would you, and gosh, it's a depressing question, so I'm sorry. Once again, once this is over, go have a great Saturday night. But it's a depressing question, and it is. Would you rather lose, if you're an Angels fan, would you rather lose every game by 2 runs with Kevin Pillar and Willie Calhoun and Taylor Ward and all these older guys? Or would you rather lose 9-0 with a bunch of 21-year-olds who are clearly not ready for Major League Baseball? That is the question, because that feels like the only 2 outcomes right now, let's be honest. It's whether or not you want to see Kevin Pillar, who, once again, I think if you want to compete, should be in the lineup every night. But if you want to care about moving forward, maybe he shouldn't. So that is my question. Would you rather see Pillar, Calhoun, Ward, all these older guys that probably should be traded, Rengifo, all of them, and probably lose most games by 2 or 3 runs still every night? Or would you rather see days like today where, ironically, there's still old guys in the lineup, but most of the time this is going to happen when you've got strictly, as Michael said, the Kyron Parises of the world who are not ready for Major League Baseball? Tell me in the comments, 9-0 every day with young guys, or 2-run defeats with older guys. But with all that being said, let's talk about the hitting a little bit. And boy, these numbers are going to make you cry. Because once again, the Angels limited this time to 6 hits, and the 6 hits is quite friendly because this game was over, let's be honest, and the Mariners did not need to really pitch like they cared in this one, just throw strikes and get out of it. But let's go through the box score, and I don't like just reading box scores normally, but this is one of those games where you kind of only need to read the box score to know everything. Rengifo, 1 for 4, he kind of continues to be pretty solid. I think when he doesn't go 2 for 4, he goes 1 for 4. Rengifo rarely has offers. He's never going to strike out multiple times in a game. And I think that's why he's a valuable trade chip. But Rengifo goes 1 for 4. Once again, Shanuel not in the lineup for back-to-back days. That sore thumb. So Rengifo leads off. And once again, my boy, Mickey Moniak, and I'm very much kidding on that, back in the 2-hole. I don't know why. Ironically, he goes 1 for 4. He had an extra base hit to move that batting average up to 172, folks, and that OPS to 459. He still had 2 strikeouts. He still looks like he can hit most times. So Moniak goes 1 for 4. Taylor Ward an 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Come on, buddy. We need you to play well so we can maybe get something for you at the trade deadline. But no, he goes 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. He's now just hitting 264. The OPS is under 800 at 792. Come on, keep that trade value high. Please, please, please. Willie Calhoun, he goes 2 for 4. The lone bright spot, once again, you want to see a season for the rest of the year where it's Willie Calhoun going 2 for 4 and you lose by 5 runs, or Calhoun out of the lineup and you lose by 10. That's the question of the day. But Calhoun goes 2 for 4. He's now 286. Pilar goes 1 for 4. He extends that hitting streak to 13 games, thanks to a 9th inning hit on basically the second to last at bat of the game. Matt Tice 0 for 3. Joe Adell 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. And boy, talk about coming back down to earth. Ironically, yesterday I'm saying, hey, how dare Kevin Pilar run into the last out of the game when he's the tying run on base with Joe Adell up. Joe Adell still ain't doing anything that at bat. Let's be honest. He still ain't doing nothing. He hit a grand slam, and you still don't think he's doing anything because right here he comes back down to earth with another 0 for 3. He can't hit against righties. He cannot hit against righties. He cannot hit against righties. And he can't even make contact against righties. 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts today. He's now hitting 207. And pretty soon, there's a chance we're going to be looking at Angels lineups where you've got Mickey Moniak 172. Joe Adell pretty soon will be in the 100s. Kyron Paris hitting 119 after a pinch hit strikeout today. 119. And don't get me started on Cole Tucker, who ironically is a better pitcher than hitter. Woo! Better pitcher than hitter, Cole Tucker. But yes, Adell 0 for 3. Neto 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Guillermo goes 1 for 3. He still had a strikeout. But this is why I say it's one of those games where there's really no positives. Because at least yesterday, the game was nothing for 6 innings. But Joe Adell shows you, a glimmer of hope with the grand slam. At least in the previous games against the Yankees, the hitting wasn't there for the most part. But the pitchers surprisingly played well. Specifically the starters. And then that one inning where it was 12 consecutive outs from the bullpen in that series opening win against the Yankees. But today was the day where no hitting whatsoever. Obviously no hitting in terms of runs, but really no hitting, no smart hitting, no bunts, no creativity, no chance to run into outs because nobody's on base to even think about doing that. But yeah, no positivity from the lineup, not even a young guy showing a glimmer of hope, not even a Kyron Paris with a pinch hit single or something to give you even a tiny bit of happiness if you're a Halo fan. I think the only thing was Kevin Pilar, yay, extend the hitting streak. To be honest, it's 2024 and we're talking about Kevin Pilar. Not a good sign for your franchise. But yes, as we say, no positivity here. The hitters do nothing. We already talked about the pitching doing nothing. We're going to take our last break on today's Locked On Angels Postcast as the Mariners destroy our Angels 9-0. And when we come back, we'll talk one more time about what do the Angels do from here on out. I feel like I talk about it every 2 or 3 shows because it's like when you're losing every game, it gets boring just talking about the loss. You want to talk about going forward because let's be honest, if you're an Angels fan, you're probably trying to think about 2027 and maybe an Artie-less Angel franchise with a couple prospects to be excited about. Who knows? Maybe by then, Kyron Paris is hitting 250 and not 119. But yes, after we take this break, we'll discuss what should Ronald Washington do going forward, not only tomorrow, but going forward, because I think this might be the series to confirm, if you didn't know already, that there's nothing to look forward to in 2024. We'll take a quick break here, and we'll be right back. Now, today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. It's no secrets. I love fantasy sports. I love betting on sports. I know you can't bet on sports in California, but if you live anywhere else, if you're an Angels fan living in a different state, or if you're just a random guy watching this, shout out to you. Go use FanDuel and bet. But specifically, use FanDuel.com/lockedon because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's why FanDuel is the best. Any site can put up lines and ask for you to bet on it. But FanDuel gives you promos like this. Once again, $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 Sportsbook. One more time, you're listening live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. I'm Gavin Carlson, and I am a sad, downtrodden Gavin Carlson because our Angels played one of their worst games of the season, a 9-0 defeat in Seattle to fall to 0-2 in this series. They no longer have a winning record against the AL West. That was one of the few things we could brag about if you're an Angels fan of 2024. Hey, at least you're 500 on the road. We don't know why you can't win at home, but at least you're 500 on the road. Not anymore. 2 games under 500 on the road. And now the only other thing was, hey, we're 4-2 against the AL West after those Texas series. But now 0-2 against the Mariners. You fall to 4-4 in the AL West. And there is literally not a single statistic that you can be excited about. I've already told you now for about 25 minutes why there were no positives in this one. Starters didn't show up. Hitters didn't show up. Cole Tucker was on the mound. I don't want to look at Cole Tucker at all, to be honest, but especially not on the mound. Although maybe Cole Tucker on the mound is more interesting than Cole Tucker hitting the baseball. Once again, shout out to everybody in here. Daniel, trying to keep us happy on a Saturday. Sega Boy W said, Stefanik, Tioso, Caden Dane, MDH, the future. We can't sleep on these guys. It's now or never. I think you're referring to maybe calling them up. Obviously, I think you're going to see Stefanik soon. And that leads to the question of, what do we want from Ron Washington in the near future, in the distant future? The question of the day, one more time if you didn't hear it already, would you rather see your Angels lose 9-0 every game with all the 20-year-olds, all the 22-year-olds, all the Kyron Parises of the world, all the Joe Adells, the Zach Nettos, hitting 200, 215, hopefully 240? Would you rather see that and get rid of all the old guys? Or would you rather watch Willie Calhoun and Kevin Pillar and Luis Rengifo and still lose probably 65, 70% of your games, but maybe you lose by 2 runs instead of 10? That's the question of the day. It's a really long question, but please let me know either if you're watching live right now or in the comment section after the show. But that leads into my last topic and my opinion on that question and what Ron Washington should do. This is maybe this is cheating a little bit on the answer to that question. I think I want to see the old guys right now. And I know it might not make sense at first, but I'll tell you why. And then you'll probably say, well, Gavin, that's the obvious answer. But I'm going to say it if you don't know what I'm thinking. Play the old guys, have their averages hopefully go up, and then get rid of them all at the deadline and watch really, really bad baseball for the second half of the season. Because the only way this season can be a success, there's 2 ways. Because the Angels actually playing good baseball and competing for a wild card spot or even staying competitive for even another week. Let's be honest, they're already out of it. That's already gone. So in my opinion, there's 2 ways. 2 ways that there's positivity in this season at all. Well, 3 if Artie sells the team, but we're not getting that. So 2. Obvious number 1 is the young guys show life. Kyron Paris hits 220 instead of 119. Joe Adell gets that 207 back to 250 and learns how to hit righties a little bit and not just lefties, and doesn't strike out every single time he faces a righty pitcher. Zach Neto continues to have, I think, one of the better seasons of the young guys. Obviously, he's been great in the field. Keep that hitting at 250. I'm okay with Neto, to be honest. 250, solid glove and short. You know the potential's there. He'll keep getting better. Mickey Moniak can't hit 172. Gosh, we know that. But that's one of the ways there's success, is if the young guys show that they're even remotely ready for Major League Baseball, so that next year or in 2 years, they're hitting 280 and they're not running into outs and they're not making errors and they're not, giving you bonehead plays, walking guys that have never gotten a hit. Reid Detmers today. That's one way there's positivity this season. The other way is if the Angels finally sell at the deadline the right way, get rid of old guys and get something for them. And so you might ask, how do you get both? Because there's a chance you get both. And it might sound obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. The obvious way that you maybe get both is if you're Ron Washington, you don't play the young guys every day right now. Because I think it's honestly hurting them more than it's helping them. A guy like Joe Adell, he was 0 of his last 18 at-bats before yesterday with probably 18 strikeouts. Obviously not, but striking out like every other time he steps up in the plate. He finally gets a day off because you're playing a righty. Then he gets in against a lefty as a pinch hitter and he hits a grand slam. Now, of course, I might be cherry picking. That's one example. It's anecdotal evidence. But a guy that's struggling beyond belief, you give him a day off to cool down, to think about what's going wrong. You get him a favorable matchup. He hits a grand slam and he's feeling a lot better about himself. Then he comes out today and he strikes out 3 times and probably hates the way he's playing baseball again. I say all that to say, as much as Washington has said Jo Adell needs 500 at-bats this season, you'll probably get him there, sure, if he doesn't get hurt, knock on wood. But be a little more creative with how you do it. Maybe right now you only play Jo Adell against lefties, and against righties, he sits down. So that maybe he hits 100 against righties this year, but who cares? Because at least he's confident against lefties. And then when the deadline comes, and after Pilar has been in the lineup instead of Adell for half the games, after Willie Calhoun has been in the lineup at DH instead of a Cole Tucker or something, gosh. Then you trade those guys. Adell has staggered between playing every other day, maybe only playing against lefties, something like that. And then you give him the second half of the season to play every day. And if he hits 100, then maybe you're just not good enough to play Major League Baseball. Now, Adell's an interesting example, of course, because there's been opportunities. But take a guy like Kyron Paris instead. Maybe Kyron Paris, obviously he hasn't started the last couple of games, and it's ironic. He's sitting behind young guys in his own right in a Zach Neto. But maybe you keep playing Guillerme. Obviously, you're going to keep playing Rengifo. Kyron Paris, sit, don't play a ton, watch the game from the dugout. Come in at select times where it's a favorable matchup, although there aren't many favorable matchups for Kyron Paris in 2024. But maybe you only give him in favorable matchups. Hopefully 1 out of 5 times, 1 out of 4 times, if you're lucky, he gets a hit. He feels good about himself, but you limit him. You keep playing the Rengifos, you keep playing the Calhouns, you keep playing the Kevin Pilars, and then you unload them all, and then you get the whole second half of the season to watch the young guys hopefully hit 250, but probably hit 150. I think that's the move right now if you're on Washington, because you got to get something for the old guys to make this season a success, because option number 1 isn't looking likely. Option number 1 that I said 5 minutes ago of the young guys giving you hope right now that they're going to become something, that isn't looking likely right now, other than maybe Zach Neto and Nolan Chanuel. Logan O'Hoppe too. But the Moniacs, the Adells, the Kyron Parises, they're sure not showing you anything right now. And so maybe the move is you stop playing them as much. Not because I'm some foolish, hopeful Halo fan who thinks, we're going to go on a 10-game winning streak if we play Pilar every night. But if Pilar plays and you lose every game by 2 runs instead of 10, and Pilar hits 320, and then you somehow turn Kevin Pilar, who was just DFA'd earlier in the year, if you somehow turn him into any prospect, that is an A++. If you somehow turn Willie Calhoun into any prospect, that's an A++. Rengifo, I think you can get something real for. Taylor Ward, you can get something real for. You trade Matt Moore, even though he stinks this year, you can get something real for. Hunter Strickland, the entire bullpen. I've only been talking about hitters, but it extends to the bullpen. Same thing. Let the old guys go. Let them play, I think. Let the old guys play until the deadline. Get that trade value as high as you can, and then unload them, and let the young guys do whatever they can from then on out. Because surely the season will be over by then. Even if you're playing the veterans, maybe the fans won't want to turn the TV off if it's old guys that are losing by 3 runs instead of 10. And then the second half of the season, you turn those old guys into prospects, and you watch the prospects you get, and the young guys you have right now probably lose 10-0 every game. But by then, who cares? I think that's the way to go. Let me know in the comment section if you disagree. Shout out to everyone who's been commenting today, yesterday, in the comment section, live or after the fact. Let me know if you agree with me or if you think I'm being too negative. I don't know. Or maybe you think the Ron Washington approach to Jo Adell coming into the year of we need all of our guys to get a ton of at-bats, the young guys. Is that the move? Is that the move? Or is it let the old guys play right now so you can get that value up as much as possible, trade them all, and then you go from there? Let me know what you think. Let me know if you disagree. But just throwing it out there because there's not really anything else to talk about today. A 9-0 defeat. So that'll do it for today's edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast. Try to bring as much value as I can to this one. Obviously, the game itself, not much to talk about. I tried to tell you why Detmers had a dumb start, not just a bad start, a dumb start, why the lineup continues to be dead. And then I asked the question of what should Ron Washington do with this roster going forward. One more time, shout out to everybody in here. Please leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know if you disagree or agree with me on the question of the day about playing the old guys versus playing the young guys. And just let me know how I'm doing overall, because we're still just 10 episodes into this thing. The support has been great so far. Really appreciate it. Keep letting me know. Let me know what you want differently from me too. Am I talking too much about PrizePicks? Am I not talking enough about the minor league system? Am I talking too much about Ron Washington or not enough? Am I talking too much or not enough about the future? Let me know in the comments. I want this to be the best show for you guys as possible. And if it's a lot of games like today where it's the game itself not being that exciting, then let me know what you want, and I will bring it to you right here on Locked On. So shout out to everybody in here. Once again, the Angels fall 9-0 in one of the most disappointing, least positive performances of the season. We'll see if the Angels can turn things around and avoid a 3-0 or an 0-3 run against the Mariners. Tomorrow, a day game, 1 p.m. first pitch, something like that. I'll be here live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel right after the game, as I always am. Shout out to everybody in here. Leave a like, leave a comment. This was the Locked On Angels Postcast. I'm Gavin Carlson, signing off, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Enjoy your weekend. Don't let this rain on your parade. So long, everybody. Have a good one.